All right. Test.
Back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Nice. You know what else is nice? The three of us being together and back for the third and final segment of this week's episode of Convincing Idiots. Welcome back, Millennial Nick, along here with my bro hosts with strong, broad shoulders that I can feel in person in my hands. I can feel it in my plums.
At least one.
With Gen X.
One's a little more bony.
One's a little mushier than the other, but one definitely goes to the gym. Gen X Brian is here, along with Zennial Dean. We are back for segment number 3 of Convincing Idiots, and we appreciate you joining us and giving us your time. So, you know, guys, we've been friends for a long time.
We have.
Long time. Experienced a lot of the same things together, but sadly, our relationships don't go back all the way to the beginning. Things that molded us in our childhood. You know, quite frankly, we couldn't be friends with Brian when we were children because it would be very inappropriate.
Yes.
And your childhood was like last week.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So, along with things that came out in 2022, these two will be discussing things that we saw as children that molded us. Brian saw a great question on Twitter, naming off some films that really molded your childhood. So, for our particular area here, we're going to talk about just anywhere from childhood up to maybe early teens.
Yeah.
Is a good place to cut it off. Maybe around your, whatever you deem to be your early teens, 12, 13, 14, something like that. So we're going to discuss some movies that really molded
pre-high school, maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, well, Brian, you had the idea to do this topic, which is a lovely one. So why don't you start us off?
Yeah, let's do one at a time, kind of go around.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
No surprise, Star Wars.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm just going to concur with you right now. I assumed we'd all have it. And it speaks to the timelessness of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Our podcast is based on 3 friends representing 3
was our
different
first
generations.
episode.
We all experienced
Yep.
Star Wars, and it has carried with us through our lives and to our children. We've all introduced it to our children, all of varying ages, shared it with our families. So I knew we would all have Star Wars written down.
I actually didn't write it only for the fact that I knew that one of you two would.
Yeah.
Right.
Just want to kind of change it up. So.
Yep.
But I agree with you 100%.
Timeless.
Yeah, for me as a kid, it was 1977 was released. I was in 3rd grade. I know we've mentioned this before, but it was no bigger movie out at the time.
Yep.
And my 3rd grade teacher, ironically, Mrs. Fisher, also.
Yeah.
Loved Mrs. Fisher, and she was so cool. Bless her heart. Oh, if she's still alive, if she's not, rest in peace. So she was one of my favorite teachers of all time. Probably not. I don't know. Well, I don't know. My 4th grade teacher is still alive. I know that for a fact.
All right.
Anyway,
Modern medicine's an incredible thing.
that's not what we're talking about. But she was a huge Star Wars fan, and she had posters in the classroom. And then for Halloween that year, she had a homemade Darth Vader costume. This is before the actual Halloween
she
costume.
created the helmet and
Created
stuff?
the helmet. She had a motorcycle helmet that she made I don't know, whatever it was at the time. I still remember her walking in to this day. That image of her and doing the breathing and all that. I was like, wow,
That's awesome.
That's one of the
cool
coolest adults in the universe.
That's what
Mrs. Fisher.
love
right
about
now.
you old people. You were so resourceful. You made costumes.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It was so cool.
I mean, she put all that time and effort just for you kids to see her come in there, and she didn't even have the right to vote yet.
Well, 77, I think she did. But anyways, like you say, you don't have to you don't have to have watched it in the theater originally to not watch it as a child, obviously, to have it impact your life. So, huge thing. And then for me, I had all the toys and everything. It was just it got me into sci-fi immediately, and the whole Say no more. So it's
100%.
definitely one of my top movies of my childhood, even and to this day.
I would like to say, for the record, all joking aside, I would love nothing more than to get a YouTube comment or on some form of social media from Mrs. Fisher and being like, "You tell that little shit I'm alive and I'm thriving."
I didn't say
No, I know.
alive.
No, I said it. I'm saying, all joking aside,
yeah,
I would love nothing more than to get that comment and be like, "Mrs. Fisher is doing a lot."
He's a little shit we're talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm purely joking, of course. But
And she actually gave me. I'll just say, she gave me a teeny, like those little glass animals. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know where a glass fish. Somewhere we were on a field trip or something like that. She gave that to me. I still have it to this day in my home. Bless her heart.
She was
cool.
hitting on you.
No. It's a child.
Did you get it in?
The 40s were a different time.
Did you fuck Teacher Darth Vader?
Next. Dean, what do you have, sir?
All right. So I wanted to.
Dean, meanwhile, playing the part of a teacher who would mess around with a student.
I have a story.
I
Anyways,
want to hear it, not here.
off air. We'll tell
Nope.
the story. All right. So I went on like different emotions. What shaped me in joy, happiness, seriousness, fear.
Sure.
So my
Inside
first.
Out was not out when you were a child.
I'm going to go. The first movie I have here, Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
Came out in 1994.
Yeah.
Little Dean was only 13 years old.
Oh, Jesus.
I probably saw it a year later when it came out on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, especially at 13, it like really showed what like movies could be.
Yeah.
A lot of them were very uniform. Start to finish. This was like it blew your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Of like what you could do in a timeline, to the story you could tell, and the types of story you can tell. It was mind blowing at 13 or 14 when I saw it.
Yeah.
So for me, Pulp Fiction really made an impact on my life.
Yeah.
So Pulp Fiction is my number one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Nikolai,
I'm going to start at a very base level. We're talking childhood.
jingle all the way.
Just, what?
Jingle all the way.
Oh, jingle, yeah. Simply put, jingle all the way.
All five.
All
Jingle
five.
all the way. Sorry.
At a very base level, as a kid, one of my fondest Disney movies, certainly, and to this day, my favorite Disney movie. And one of my favorites as a kid, The Lion King. It was a big deal culturally at the time. I mean, if I can take you back to that time in Kidland, it was everywhere.
Lion King was 1994.
It was
right?
I don't know, maybe 95.
Okay.
Aladdin, I want to say, was 93 or 4.
Aladdin
was
92.
Lion King was Aladdin was 92. Then you might be
I'm
right.
guessing. I'm
94.
Oh, okay, yeah, 94.
So I was right.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was everywhere. The toys, in the Happy Meals. I mean, it was everything was so hyper advertised at the time too for kids, like the on sleeping bags and on whatever. But aside from just culturally what it was in the 90s,
I was 13 years old when that movie came out.
were you? So you had the sleeping bag also?
I had the blankets because on Christmas I was too old for it. I enjoyed the movie; it was fine. But being 13, my parents thought that they would get us all, character blankets, and they bought me Simba on the sheets and the blankets and stuff.
Trying to keep you youthful,
Right? I guess. I'm like, oh, I enjoyed the movie, but I don't know if a 13-year-old I want to have. I kept that fucking blanket for years.
Sure.
No thanks, Mom and Dad. Just a copy of the Times in my bifocals. He was even in a rush back then to be old.
I
I'm not going to have any
wanted.
girls in this bed anytime soon, so yeah.
Closest to get a pussy I'm gonna get. Come here, Simba.
Well, it was fucked up because I requested the Hindenburg to be on my blankets, but they got me Simba. So yeah, but that to your point, that's how big it was. It was on blankets and sheets and stuff.
But even aside from all the merchandising and stuff like that, to this day, it is my favorite of those classic Disney movies.
Sure.
It's just a great storyline. to this day, I don't know what it was with like. You wonder why people joke about millennials and how sensitive we are. Probably because every fucking animated film in the 90s was someone's parents getting stripped away from them at a young age. All these scarring, no pun intended, incidents and traumatic incidents happening to these characters. But yeah, man, like The Lion King to this day, when there's something about when all the dust settles and, Mufasa
he's pushing
goes
with his paw.
and he's, getting up under his paw and wake up, Dad, and tugging on his ear, and is just the disbelief that he's going to wake up at some point, that he's dead, that he thinks at some point he's going to wake up, let's go home. Every time I watch that movie, I
get kicked out for laughing at that part.
Like it just gets me right in the feels, man. But I love that movie. Yeah, when I really think of being a kid and a movie that I loved and watched over and over, I went and saw it in the theater, and then I watched it over and over on the big puffy. Megan and I were talking earlier about the big puffy Disney VHS cassettes they would put out there. The Disney ones were in like these big kid ones that you could hold with your little baby hands. Yep. I don't really know what the design was behind those, but yeah, The Lion King is really like when I think of real little kid, like childhood, like that one always sticks with me. And to this day, I love watching it. So yeah, The Lion King. I'll start with there. Good. So, what about you?
No, good one,
Brian.
And it's hard to narrow it down to 5.
It was very hard.
Yeah.
I wrote down like 7 or 8. So
we'll definitely have some.
I have some
for sure.
honorable mentions.
Yeah, for sure, no question about it. I've got Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
So this was a movie at the time that was on cable. Now again, you have to remember my childhood too. Again, there's no streaming,
right?
And there's no video rental either for a long time. I didn't experience even that. I mean, for me to catch movies as a kid, it was on cable. Like movie channels and things, or you just caught it on reruns and things like that. So
there's no rewinding, so you watched it where it played.
That was it. Yeah, that's it. You had no VCR yet at the time. You just sort of had to watch for it and catch it. So Young Frankenstein was on, like it was at least on annually.
Sure.
I can't remember how I got turned on to it. I do recall a buddy of mine, a grade school buddy of mine, that we were best friends in high school that since passed away, Todd, rest in peace, accident years ago. But that was one that he and I think that's the extra thing too. When you have a connection to a friend or something like that too, it was like if he saw that it was on TV or I did, we called each other and said, "Hey, Young Frankenstein is on channel," whatever it was. Yeah. I remember sometimes even as it was like young, I don't know, they'd sit there sometimes on the phone like young boys watching parts of it together or something dumb like that too. I don't
dumb.
know. That was very nice.
You don't have stuff like that anymore.
No. Right.
What a cool thing. You know what I mean? That really is a
you don't
place
have that
time.
connection.
You can't you gotta sync up a stream at the same fucking time, like hit play 1, 2, 3. Yeah, now we're watching.
We actually did that during the pandemic.
Airplane.
The three of us watch Airplane.
Yeah, we should do more of those. But anyway, fantastic movie. Mel Brooks. Arguably one of his best movies for
Absolutely.
sure. Hilarious, and it definitely had the whole classic horror feel. Just a fantastic movie. So not just the connection of watching and enjoying it with my friend, but just the whole feel of it. Gene Wilder, fantastic. It could be one. I mean, you could argue different Gene Wilder movies. I mean, to me, that's one of his. It's certainly easily one of his best movies in his career, and it kind of got me in. I kind of like the horror movies and things like that, but this was kind of it's not scary. It's
introduction.
It's a good introduction of horror. It's creepy, but it's funny and everything else. So that definitely sparked more of my interest in that era of movie monsters and things like that. So just a lot of great movies with Young Frankenstein. As a matter of fact, as you guys know, I have a dog.
Right,
named Igor after the character Marty Feldman, Igor, in Young Frankenstein. In my hallway to this day, I have a movie poster of Young Frankenstein hanging up right now. So great movie, a lot of great memories. So Dean, what do you got next?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So my next movie, like I said, I wanted to choose genres. So I wanted to go sports. Mm-hmm. And I the only sports movie that there was a lot of sports movies that came to mind, but this one, like, hit just right, like when you're a kid, because it was the 80s, the Cold War. It got you pumped up for Reaganomics and like Ronald Reagan in the 80s and
Lifting a wagon, maybe?
Lifting a wagon, climbing up a goddamn mountain. Rocky 4.
I was like, why? It's so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what is the fuck is he going to say?
I still don't know.
Is this Rudy? Is this, I don't know.
You can give me all these clues. I still don't know.
Miracle on Ice?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Rocky 4.
Yes.
Just every time, once again, every time it came on HBO, that and, you know,
it's just fun.
It's just the same as the other Rockies.
It's ridiculous.
The boxing part is just silly. Like he's holding him like this and like he's almost holding his chin up, which isn't going to happen.
And the referee's going to just allow that to happen.
Right.
Dolph Lundgren is the mammoth of
just
a man.
A monster. And but you got to think of like everything that like it was almost propaganda for like the 1980s America.
Oh yeah,
because it was giving you like the USA, but also the drug part. You know,
that's right.
When you're showing the evil Russian getting prepared for this fight, and he's using these machines against Rocky, lifting up a wagon to climbing up a hill, and he's using the stair climber, which wasn't huge back then, right? And then you finally have the Russian
snow.
And it wasn't even like somebody shooting him up. It was a robot shooting steroids into him.
That's right.
Just so fucking stupid and insane. But it came in 85. I was 4 years old, but obviously I was watching it on the HBO and VHS. So just a couple of years after that. But that got you in the 80s, that was pumped as you could fucking possibly be.
It does.
And I still need to watch the cut version.
It's good. It's a different it's a different take on it for sure. Yeah.
That's mine. Rocky 4, 1985.
This was not last summer, but the summer prior. It was just Allie, and it was literally the 4th of July weekend. It was just her and I. We set up the big projector out back. We're like, what do you want to watch? We watched. It was
Rocky Marathon?
No. We watched Rocky 4.
Okay.
And literally around us was all the idiots shooting the fireworks off and everything else. We're watching Rocky 4
crying.
with the fireworks. It was like, yeah!
I fucking love America.
I have a playlist on I'll show you where
he finished. They had sex later. He finished with the draped American flag on each hand.
Oh yeah. I had Allie fucking hold me over a rafter. You know what I'm saying? I was doing crunches.
Oh yeah.
It was intense, man.
I wish I could have been there for that. Wow. A lot.
Oh, he didn't send you the video.
Oh, yeah.
Sent me the video. That's weird.
It's on our Patreon. You go check that out.
All caps IFKN love Merc.
I'll share a nerdy thing about me as well. I have a playlist, a workout playlist.
Oh, please tell me that's on there.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
The training montage.
Yeah.
From Rocky 4 is on that playlist. It's like that whole scene. That's what it is.
He's using the. Remember there's
they
use these
snow. I got to picture everything that's happening.
These wooden things that they would put across oxes' backs to plow fields.
Yeah.
And he's using it like this. Running through snow. Everything was just basic nature.
God.
Well, you saw. Did you watch Creed though, right?
Yeah.
Same thing of did you see Creed 2?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, I love the first one though.
They do kind of the same thing where he goes back to basics.
Okay.
And trains.
I figure that's what's happening next because he kind of the end
it's
of
very mirrored.
He ends is very this is a respectable.
But it's
outcome.
not as Creed 2 at least does it not as silly.
Right.
But in the 80s, in 1984 or 85, that wasn't silly.
No. I was going to say everything was silly in 1984.
But not if you watched it then, you didn't. You'd probably watched it
in the theater. Oh yeah.
So did you find it silly? No, you found it cool and exciting.
Of course.
And it shaped you because to this day, you know,
look at those
pumps you up.
guns.
Pumps you up.
That's right. I'm lifting fucking wagons. I'm getting up to 10 people.
You listen to that playlist jerking off. Look at those fucking guys. Look at that.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So Rocky 4.
Great choice.
All right.
Nick, what's your next one?
But wow, I'm really thrown off by that montage. What was my? Oh, okay. So, comedy. Comedy would have to be my favorite genre of movies. And when I think back to, there's many.
I think you'd bring it to this podcast.
There's many great comedy movies, but when I really think back to being a kid and one of the first ones that really, I feel like had a big hand in molding my sense of humor and really like hit home with me, especially the time it came out. Being raised with my parents, it kind of fit in with our kind of vibe and all that stuff. My parents were big fans. Wayne's World has been around for as long as I can remember, and I think I would almost accredit it to being my intro to Saturday Night Live before it really, I wasn't watching Saturday Night Live when Wayne's World came out.
It was a 2-hour Saturday Night Live skit.
Right, but man, I just absolutely love that movie. I can recite it from front to back. I remember my parents leaving my house the night to go on a date night. My grandma came and sat with me. And I remember them going to see it in the theater, and then, we just had it on VHS, and we'd watch it all the time and recite it. Very quotable. We quoted the lines all, to this day, anytime Bohemian Rhapsody's on.
Yep.
It's not a Queen song to me. It's a Wayne's World song to me. When it gets heavy and everybody headbangs in the car in the Mirthmobile. It's just...
You can't hear that without seeing the guy in the middle, trying not to throw
let
up
me go, and I'll let you go, let me go. Well, yeah, right.
It was a resurgence for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that, honestly, in the Bohemian... Was it called Bohemian Rhapsody? The movie? Right. Yes. That was my favorite part, that Mike Myers played the record exec, that he goes, you need an anthem. Something that teenagers can get in their car and bang their heads to. And I was like... beautifully done. Yeah. Just excellent insert. But yeah, man, I love comedy movies, and it's one of my all-time favorites, and I'll have another one or two depending on how long we go, or honorable mentions or whatever, but that I will mention. But that one really, when I really date back to what's the earliest one I remember and really hits home, and to this day is still just hysterical to me, it's probably Wayne's World.
No, I agree with you. Great movie.
100%.
Yep.
A lot of fun.
So,
very quotable.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Dinas, what do you got?
No, I think
I think it is me. Yeah.
So, you brought up Rocky. Yeah. Were we going this way?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, we went around the table.
Brian's old. He messed up the thing. It didn't go this way.
I'll have a comedy one here. Another comedy for me. So, and again, this movie was on cable. Summer of it was released in 1980. Every time this movie came, one of my best friends, Tim Lester, listens to this every so often. So, Tim, if you're listening, hey, brother. Every time this movie came on, we watched it. It was like that summer of the early 80s. It was like 81 or 82. It was the same summer that MTV came out. It's like 82, something like that. So it was
81.
81. Okay.
August,
so was that
August of 81.
There you go. So it was that summer. He moved in across the street. We met, hung out. That summer it's ingrained in my brain. It was MTV, Atari, and Caddyshack. Okay.
Absolutely.
Again, I don't care if it was 10 minutes left or it started. We stopped everything. Caddyshack is on. We're watching it. Same type of deal.
That was one of the backyard movies.
I'm sure I got a phone call
last summer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure there were phone calls. Come over watch Caddyshack, and that movie had everything. It had comedy. It had nude women,
right,
in it, which was fabulous. Like they're doing some type of drug. I don't know. I have no idea what this is, but it's it's definitely adult humor. It's funny, just fantastic. To this day, one of my favorite movies. Like I said, we watched it last summer in the backyard. It's super quotable. Again, one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think in the annals of film, I think ultimately Caddyshack, and you can go 100 years. That's one that will be mentioned.
I think so. Anyway,
just for it was innovative for its time, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So it meets that criteria. Rodney Dangerfield at his best.
Yeah.
Right.
Chevy Chase, Bill Murray.
Right.
God, Chevy Chase was in there?
Oh yeah. My God. Ted Knight. So fucking
Ted
fantastic.
Knight is that movie, right? We're waiting.
Even to this day, right now, they have a new, Miller Ultra, Michelob Ultra campaign.
Yes,
based on
I saw it,
Caddyshack.
yeah.
Right. So I saw it. New Era Caps has a new Caddyshack line of caps with the gopher and everything. So it's still that popular.
I defy anybody of our age range to play golf and not quote it sometime in the 9 or 18 they're playing.
It's going to be mentioned.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. There you go.
All right, so I'm moving on to 1985. I was 4 years old again, and the movie
For the second time.
for the second time. Well, I'm so old. I aged twice. Nope. The movie Clue.
Okay.
Now, again, you're laughing on because why would it be Clue?
Yeah.
Let me explain.
Okay.
Obviously, I was 4. I didn't watch it in the theater, so it was at least 2 to 3 years after, right? Okay. When it was on HBO, a lot.
Right.
Now, Clue was one of those movies that,
tons of people in it.
Again, it's like Pulp Fiction, as in, it definitely, I didn't see anything like it. Because by the time I got to HBO, in the theater, when it originally came on the theater, they had 3 endings. Depending on where you were in the country, saw a different ending.
Oh, interesting.
That's
cool.
Yeah.
But on HBO, you got to see almost back-to-back simultaneously, could have happened this way, could have happened this way. And they showed you all the endings. So to me, that was the mind-blowing thing that a movie could do that.
Yeah. Never seen anything like that before, yeah.
And it was funny. It was there was some sexy part of the Yvette, right?
Yep,
as a
maid,
young
Alan
kid,
Kahn was in
right?
that. Tim Curry,
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, that's right.
Michael McKean.
Yeah.
The cast is incredible. I've heard they've been in talks for a few years about rebooting it, doing a new one, which I'll be okay with.
Could be done.
It's one of those that I'll take a look at it.
Sure.
But it was just, to me, I watched it every time it came on. HBO, I'm like you said for Caddyshack, beginning and middle. You could recite it. You're in on it. Very good. To me, Clue, I just remember line for line, how you feel. Some of those movies have smells. As in, you remember, your smells from childhood just by watching it on the screen. Sitting there on the floor like this, and just the smells of everything, because it's that.
Stuck with you that much. It's ingrained in your mind.
Yes, yeah. And that's what Clue is for me. So Clue is my next offer.
Very good. And it was the top 3 movies based on board games of all time.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the other ones are. Battleship, maybe it's up there.
Remember Rihanna was in that?
I don't know.
Jumanji, does that count? Jumanji only became a board game because of the movie. It wasn't based on a board game.
There's other ones in there.
Yeah.
Battleship.
No. Battleship. I just said that. Battleship was an actual movie.
There's Battleship.
Battleship.
Yeah. Candyland?
Is there Candyland? There's got to be Candyland, right?
Now that actually
was there
all the way back around starred Rob Lowe, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
He played Mr. Mint.
Mr. Kane. Mr. Mint.
It was a character, Kane.
Yeah, he sailed his boat down the chocolate river? Is that?
I don't know.
Tell me about it, please.
Look it up.
Tell me about sending your candy cane down the chocolate river.
Yeah, check it out. Rob Blow.
Let's do it.
Prove I'm wrong. Yep. Nick, what's your
All right. Let's get this back on track. I'm going to go with, I don't know if you call it a drama, I guess. I don't know what else it would be. Definitely one of
Jingle All the Way.
The first time. Howard Langston is at his wit's end, and it's Christmas Eve, and he doesn't have the fucking Turbo Man. Drama ensues. No, this came out in 1996, based off of a comic book. The Crow,
Titanic,
is one of the. I mean, I remember that was kind of one of those in my formative years. That's a movie that It was dark.
Sure.
It was badass. It was vengeful. It was tragic. I don't know. It was one of the first movies that I really latched onto that wasn't a comedy or a kids movie or whatever.
Sure.
That was just a great story being told. And like, I didn't even know it was a comic book when I first saw it. I just thought it was this really kick-ass movie. Initially, I thought it was a movie about Sting at the time because Sting actually like revamped his whole thing in the WCW to look like fucking the Crow. But yeah, man, like
he sat up in the rafters.
Yeah, he came down from the rafters. The black trench coat. I mean, he did. He was
at one point. I think he had a fucking crow on his shoulder, if I'm not mistaken.
You're supposed to be a scorpion. It doesn't even make fucking sense. But yeah, man, the Crow was just cool as shit. You know, tragic story of a guy, him and his fiance are brutally, murdered and by this gang, and he comes back from the dead. It's story been told is very similar.
Yeah, like a lot of 80s movies did that.
A lot of things are, very similar in storytelling wise, but Brandon Lee was fantastic in it, and tragically it was his final film. Yeah. I to this day I love that movie. I like every time I watch it, because there are times where you watch movies that you loved as a kid or you loved growing up and you thought were just fucking super killer and kick ass. And you're like, oh, it's going to be sick. I'm going to watch it again. And then you're like, it's not quite.
You feel a little bad about it.
And you do take into account it was made in 1996. So certain effects and things. But man, it's gritty and it's grimy and it's still really good. Good acting. I love it. I still love that movie to this day. So The Crow is, like I said, I guess you would call it a drama, really. I don't know what else it would categorize as. It's certainly not a superhero movie.
A little bit of action.
But it's action involved, yeah, man.
Draction.
I like that. I like Draction.
There you go.
Good term.
Thank you.
Term. I like that. A new Deanism. But yeah, The Crow. The Crow is one of mine. So, Brian, what you got?
Good. Another one is a kind of reoccurring theme, the old cable movies. So this movie, again, is another one. When it came on, I would typically sit down and watch it. And it definitely made me a super fan of James Bond.
Okay.
So back in that time, there was James Bond movies on cable all the time.
Sure.
But this particular one, I was just getting into my preteen, young teen, For Your Eyes Only. Okay. Roger Moore, at the peak of Roger Moore, James Bond period, right? This was early 80s. So they had the crazy, ridiculous... See, Moonraker's close, too. That was a crazy, over-the-top James Bond movie when James Bond in outer space. Moonraker?
I've never heard of that one.
James Bond in outer space. Say no more. Okay.
Did he meet Jason out
James
there?
X.
No. That's just a crazy, ridiculous, over-the-top James Bond movie. And then we got to reel this back in. Have
he was
more
just
of a classic.
in a tuxedo with just like the dome, like the fish dome on his head.
Check out the movie poster for that.
Is it close?
I was going to say, I'm
close.
sure it probably is similar to
It's
that.
James Bond with a tuxedo underneath an astronaut suit.
Yeah,
And
all right. Sure.
Anyway, that was close because I watched that all the time as well back as a kid. That was around the Star Wars anyway. But For Your Eyes Only, to this day, is my favorite James Bond film. No reason it should be, really, because there's definitely better movies, without question. I realize that. But this movie had everything. Roger Moore was my James Bond growing up in high school and in my young teen years. And I was just like, wow, that character struck me as like so super cool. Roger Moore, I loved him. And it had fucking skiing. There's a scene where people are skiing down a bobsled trench, which is insane. And it stunt people doing this stuff. I think
so. Bobsled, like where it's like a U type deal.
Yeah, like a bobsled trench, straight ice.
Yeah,
there's stunt people going down with no pole, skiing down this thing. I don't know how fast they're flying. It's fantastic. Tropical scenes, snow scenes, James Bond, of course.
It's everything you want in a James Bond movie.
It's everything you want in a James Bond movie. So. That solidified me as a James Bond fan to this day. And then right now, all these movies, I have a James Bond movie poster, authentic one, For Your Eyes Only, hanging in my stairway.
Sure, because they only made one.
Then you got it.
And you got it.
It's the one that was done.
I got it as a gift from somebody in the past. So yeah,
that's cool.
There you go. That's it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, my turn?
Yes.
All right.
That's
All
my
right.
5. We'll do honorable mentions if there's still time to do that. Please go ahead.
My fourth one here is the cool surface. If you...
The cooled surface?
The cool surface.
Cool surface.
Cricket should have been placed there because nobody saw it. It probably, not in the theaters, VHS to HBO, but as a 13-year-old Dean, it was Terry Thatcher from, she was in the Lois and Clark series at the time.
Oh, yeah.
This was
Charmed? She was in Charmed, wasn't she? Was she one of them?
No. She was in Desperate Housewives.
Okay.
But at the time, Lois and Clark, 13-year-old Dean. I'm sure the movie was, a couple years before, but it showed her breasts. And 13-year-old Dean wore the shit out of that pause button.
Sure.
I don't know if that it shaped my life, but it definitely shaped my penis. So
It shaped the wear and the fabric of the front of your pants.
It is funny because you get those movies. It's like when you're as a young boy. It's like I think girls are kind of cool, and you see something,
and it's like,
wow,
that's what that's for.
Right. I'm going to be aspiring my entire life for something close to that.
Right.
And I'm perfectly okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember a movie that, the sexy movie that, kind of like sparked everything?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, what was it?
Mine's next.
Oh, it's on there.
It's on there. It's on there. Yeah, I'll lead
good
into
timing
it.
there.
It's,
Nice.
Yeah, I mean.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Brian, if you can think of like that sexy
I can tell you
movie.
right now, I know what it
yes,
is.
please go ahead.
Well, Caddyshack, I already mentioned Caddyshack. The
Yes.
scene with Caddyshack that was cool. But Dress to Kill.
Okay.
Dress to Kill was a late 70s movie, again, on cable. Angie Dickinson.
Right.
Okay. But it wasn't her. It was a stunt person, whatever it was. But the opening scene.
Body double is what
Body
they call
double.
it.
Excuse me, that's not person. Yeah. Body double. The opening scene is a woman in a shower. And it's just like, again, the fucking, it's like, boom, right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lady in the shower.
Titty.
And it's just like painting down. You don't even see the woman's face. Just painting down this woman's body with water pouring over her. I'm just like, oh my God.
Right.
And then a killer comes in and kills her. And it's like, but anyways, that opening scene, you knew it was,
for the first time, you're like,
90 seconds or something like here. I'm really going to
things are going on here.
Yeah.
That's actually how you described it. That's actually how I met Nick. Without the killer,
Yeah. The water
pouring down on his titty meat, and come to
I was gonna say, let him use it on this one. He's just dying. He's getting revved up about his
come
first
to find
experience.
out, unfortunately, it was a body double.
Oh well, yeah.
Nikolai,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so let me take you back to mine. I've got my sexy pick all queued up here.
should I close my eyes? Should I get into this?
Yeah.
All right.
I want you to take you back. Young Nicholas was about 5. And I'm not fucking joking.
Okay.
There was a children's movie.
I was 13.
that Nicholas was shown, unsuspecting. His grandparents bought it for him on VHS. Of course, it was a child's movie.
I know what this is.
No reason to think that this could awaken what would someday be the long life pursuit of young Nicholas at 5 years old. In Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I knew it.
Nicholas
fucking
first saw
Great. Yes. It is
the
cool.
female form and what he liked in a woman. He saw curves for the first time.
Yeah, Jessica Rabbit.
He saw a large bust and he saw hips
Yeah.
and the sexy smoky eyes
That's something.
and the legs.
And that was all on Roger.
And he knew that white bunny in them red overalls would forever change his life.
Fur.
Yeah, man, that is, and it's funny to say, but like I always had this, certainly at 5 and whatever, but I grew up. My dad liked a lot of the '80s. In these videos, there's all these girls scantily clad with this teased out hair
on the Trans Am
and
hood.
just chains, and they're
With
rolling
Tawny
around on hoods
Katan.
of cars. I mean, it was always
Rest in peace.
Yes.
adult females being sexualized was certainly always there.
Yes. Yeah.
But I remember very
You
distinctly.
did not have a woke childhood.
No, I remember very distinctly seeing Jessica Rabbit for the first time and knowing full well that it's a cartoon, but being like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Like I couldn't stop thinking about that fucking cartoon to this day. I love Jessica Rabbit.
I get it.
Just that was my first my first
May I volley?
lust. Yes.
Okay. Off topic, real quick.
If you want to hear nude scene, that would be something different, but that's not on my list. But
Real quick. To this day,
yeah.
how it affected you. Could you look at Jessica Rabbit and do your thing?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I follow a whole bunch of Instagram accounts that have women dressed up like Jessica Rabbit.
Holy.
No, but the
Dude, that's what the great thing
but
about
you could
this
do-
day and age.
but
You
you
could define that. It's
but,
there.
but you could throw it around to the cartoon version.
Oh,
now.
sure.
All right.
Yeah. I can get
I
it done.
respect that.
And, fun thing, there's
sure
a lot
they're
of
out
creative people out there.
I'm sure
You can
they're
go to
out there.
websites and find animated versions of that as well.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
It's not typically my cup of tea, but, hey,
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
But I remember in a little sidebar there
Yep.
when you talked about wearing out the pause button on a nude
Uh-huh.
scene. Heather Graham in Boogie Nights as Roller Girl.
Yes.
Man,
yeah.
when I found that scene, I
was
was
a
like,
little
I knew
older.
exactly where it was. It was right near
Yeah.
the beginning, and I knew exactly where it was.
Heather Graham,
Yeah,
good,
Yeah.
good for her.
Fantastic.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
going to say
so,
without being inappropriate.
so yeah. I'm proud to say I'm probably less pervy than I was at 5. Not probably not, but I'm less outward about being a perv
Right.
as I was when I was 5.
You
I've
hold
grown
things
up
in
a little bit.
You suppress.
So, but yeah, no,
I don't.
I did when, and it's funny because I did not initially have Who Framed Roger Rabbit down on my list, but when we discussed in our group chat and you mentioned your criteria, I thought, you know what, that is a good thing to think about, and I'm
that
like, I
shapes
can't not
you.
put it on there because it absolutely had an impact
It
on
does.
what I like
Yeah.
now.
Because, some movies going to make, your mind gross, and some are going to make the dick grow. You got all the things.
That's right. We can hope. We can hope.
You can hope.
Two goals of a man's life, right there, summed up.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's that is life.
Yep. So, Brian, what you got up next?
Well, we're on honorable
How many we
mentions
got?
now. So,
Honorable?
how much you
How
guys
is
want to
my-
keep going?
Yeah,
or?
no, I've got.
I think
I've
we
done
went out of
4.
order. 1,
I did.
2,
I have one left for
3,
5.
I've got 4. Yeah.
I did Star
Yeah,
Wars.
me
and
too.
Frankenstein.
We all
Candy
agreed
Shed
on
for your
Star
eyes
Wars, but maybe that's where it all
Maybe.
happened off the top. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right, what you can just.
Yeah.
I'll give you an honorable mention here. I got a few of these here. I'm going to say Airplane.
I have. Yep.
Airplane. So I
Same
know we've-
thing. That's on my
obviously we
honorable
mentioned it even in
mentions.
this conversation. It's honorable mention for
Yep.
me. Early '80s, just the, I know we did a prior episode. Go back and look through earlier episodes. We did a
Archives.
watch along.
Yep.
Not a watch along. We watched, and then Nick had never seen it before. It's an interesting take on it, but at the time, and I still think it's hilarious to this day. Just crazy, bizarre humor, and that's when I realized I like this type of humor. It's
Right.
funny, it's ridiculous, and that type of stuff to this day makes me laugh to this day. So,
I had that in my honorable mentions only because I thought of that, and that's my number one, right? That would have been my number one. But then I started thinking to myself, you have all of this slapstick throughout the very late 70s, early 80s, hell, all throughout the 80s, right? So I couldn't place just one because like Naked Gun movies, Airplane, Hot Shots,
Yep.
all of them I could watch and quote as I go. So that is why
yeah.
it has to be honorable mentions because it's a
Can't even see
fucking.
me. He heard me.
I know,
At the time, it was like nothing you ever saw on the big screen.
right? It
Nothing.
was the comedy was just off the page of
Right.
like just the silliness, but smart. It was brilliant.
I'm petting a kitty off camera.
Ernie's here. He's been on the show.
pretty boy.
He's jumped up there.
Yeah.
occasionally.
Yeah.
All right, so my last one here.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go with horror. What's, because like as a kid, 80s, 90s, you looked at I watched the Freddy Kruegers and Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. To me, all of that was silly.
Mm-hmm.
Slasher films, I didn't start to appreciate until I had a son and he got into them.
Mm-hmm.
But so for me, there's not even a year that my age, because it came out before me. The Amityville Horror, to me, was one of the most fucking frightening movies.
Yep.
It is the one movie where I first remember not being able. Actually, it's honestly the only movie as a kid I remember not being able to sleep because I watched it earlier in the night.
Mm-hmm.
Simply the fucking scene where he has the sledgehammer in the basement, broke open the wall with the red and the blood and the ghost. And that scene alone kept me up for fucking nights.
That was creepy. Yeah. It's a passageway
Right.
to hell.
Right. Just the flies. It didn't use exact boogeyman or you never saw the boogeyman. You never saw the bad guy.
a demon or nothing. Yeah.
It was the suspense and horror of it.
Yeah.
So that movie freaked me out. So that movie, when we're talking about horror and that genre, to me, especially as a kid, there's nothing that could compare.
Yep. I told you before on this show, don't watch it now. You'll disappoint yourself.
Oh, I'm sure.
But as a kid, keep
it
there.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. To round out my top 5, I've got another comedy, and this was really close. This, if Wayne's World's a 1A, this is definitely a 1B. Mm-hmm. Similar things to say about it. Just we quoted it a lot and very popular. Similar to what you mentioned about Caddyshack. You can't go golfing without quoting it. It's Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just a fucking there's many Adam Sandler movies I could throw up there in that time range, but Happy Gilmore is hands down just my favorite one.
Yeah.
It was just so funny, and just at that time, again, just right up my alley comedy-wise. I feel like it did a lot to mold my sense of humor and stuff like that. So yeah, but like I said, just very similar kind of vibes as Wayne's World. Just quotable. I've seen it a million times.
Sure. Again, just like Caddyshack, you can't go golfing without saying something from that movie.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think same as Caddyshack, same as Happy Gilmore. I think those movies, given the veil of comedy and silliness, did something for the sport, right?
Sure,
of course,
yeah.
Because you have this generation of kids that wouldn't have even thought about going to this stuffy old sport where they're wearing the loud pants and whatever. Now they're going because of these movies.
Right.
So I think it's iconic not just for the humor and the quotability
for the game as well,
but for what it did for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. Sure. Yeah, we did that golf tournament that one year, and there was a team there that was dressed up. Remember, there was somebody dressed up with the Happy Gilmore, somebody was dressed up as the caddy, somebody was dressed up as an alligator, and somebody was, I think, as Chubbs or something. But I mean, they all had the outfits. There was everybody had a theme or a team that they dressed up as, and one team was dressed up as Happy Gilmore stuff. Was really good. But yeah, I love that movie. So, do you want me to roll into honorable mentions after that? I'll just throw a quick few out here. One would have to be another comedy, and just kind of, I don't know, I don't know if you want to call it my first introduction into musicals. I guess it would have to be.
Okay.
South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
All right.
Similar to what you mentioned, I had a friend in middle school that introduced me to this.
We were well into adulthood when
I think it was middle school that introduced me to this movie.
I have it on VHS.
And we would sing those. I know every word to every song, and that we would sing it. And we just, I mean, at our age, late middle school, early high school, you
guys are brilliant.
We absolutely
You did as well.
I've never seen it.
What? Oh my god!
I love South Park.
Yeah,
it's fucking amazing.
It's fun.
Hilarious.
You can watch it anytime. I have it on DVD.
But I've never. I've seen
HBO Max.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of the songs and clips and chunks. I've probably seen it in different pieces, but I've never seen it like front to beginning.
It's good.
These guys are geniuses.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, like I said, it's standalone, great. You can watch it anytime, because a lot of South Park is topical and satirical to what's going on in world. I mean, this is nothing like that. I mean, it's just, you can watch it anytime. It's just fantastic. But yeah, we used to call each other and like we'd sing the songs and say the lines to each other in school and shit and giggle because like, you know, you ever got caught saying any of that shit in school, you get in trouble. But it was just, it was fantastic. And then another drama, I'd like to shout out a teacher, call back to yours there. My 5th grade teacher, Mr. Henman, around the Easter season, spent about I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but spent about 2 to 3 weeks and would spend anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes at a time showing us a movie because it was a very long movie. And we watched...
Passion of the Christ.
Close!
Beat you to it.
Hey! It's back! There you go.
I'm so close.
Yeah. But we watched Ben-Hur, and man, what a great I don't know, man. I love that movie. Really?
Yeah,
great storytelling, great. It just... Really, I don't know. It really, I was in 5th grade at the time. Really captivated me. There's a lot of kids in class that, you know, you show 5th graders Ben-Hur.
Sure.
A lot of kids don't care. They're not paying attention. They're talking through it. But man,
shows
it
what
got
it does.
me.
That shows like the power of that movie. Like, how old were you? You were like 5th grade, so like
5th grade,
11,
something like that. Yeah, because Lane's in 5th grade now.
To be an 11-year-old and to like have a movie from the 50s.
Right.
Like affect you for like
That's cool.
Now you're putting it on this list.
Yeah.
That's something.
And I'm sure with like teacher at the time, Mr. Henman, that was trying to do that, cast the web, and people that latch onto it, like myself, take it for life and love the movie, and then some kids probably don't even remember they saw it. But yeah, man, like it's just a great film. Cool. Love it, and that's about it. I think that's all I've got written down.
All right.
So what do you got?
I've got a couple honorable mentions. We talked about Star Wars. Again, I didn't put it on my main list because I knew you guys would do it and we'd talk about it. Field of Dreams. Ends up being one of my favorite movies. I didn't put it on because it was subtle, right? Like it was like one of those movies that like it was a sports movie, so I didn't know what like category, and I was going on categories here. But Field of Dreams, just now, you've seen it, right?
I've never seen Field of Dreams, no.
Actually, it would be fascinating to see you watch it now because you're a father.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It definitely hits different if you watch it at any time to compare it to when you're a father. It hits different.
I used to get Field of Dreams and Rookie of the Year mixed up because I had dated a girl that liked both of those movies, and I know they're both about baseball, and I don't know which one's which.
Yeah.
I mean, now I know.
Again,
Field of Dreams is the cornfield. The other one's the other one.
Actually, Robin showed me Rookie of the Year a few years back, so I have seen Rookie of the Year. Does that rest easy? I've seen Rookie of the Year, not Field of Dreams. But I've seen Rookie of the Year.
You should watch Field of Dreams. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, Major League Baseball to this day, they build a stadium in that cornfield.
You know that. Where it was filmed.
No.
They built a stadium in the actual
cornfield
set of the cornfield. And now they have players. So they rotate teams that play there. This is a few years ago they started doing this.
That's pretty cool.
And they run out. They come they step out of the cornfield into the
and Kevin Costner
to the stadium.
Announces everything each year.
Okay, that sounds. I work with a girl who is a mega Kevin Costner super fan.
Balin
follows him around, like sees his bands play and stuff, and says she goes to
Balin, right?
No. Yeah, but yeah.
It's obvious. It still has an impact on baseball today.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it did impact me on not just film but baseball as well.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And then my last, I actually had Airplane listed here as slapstick. So every slapstick genre, and that actually could be like my one, deal. But my last honorable mention, I'm gonna name because Jesus, it is the gold standard of comic book movies. Ladies and gentlemen, Leah Thompson? Come on.
Oh, no.
It's Howard the Duck. It's Howard the Duck. I tell you what. Let me tell you a little thing about Howard the Duck. It was one of those first movies because Howard the Duck. I didn't even write it down. I don't know when Howard the Duck came. When it was, but I remember I was young, right? Howard the Duck, the scene where Leah Thompson fucks the duck.
Yeah. It's a
thing.
It happened.
The feathers come up. There was tingling going on, and I didn't know why.
And that was Dean's introduction to bestiality.
Yep.
That's how Dean knew he liked that.
The duck had human eyes and stuff, but
But a duck dick.
you show the duck.
Why?
All I know is Leah Thompson from Back to the Future was getting it on.
Oh, boy.
And like the way she like touched and like yes, young Dean, it was a very confused boner. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yep. Very good.
How about you? You got a confused boner over there?
Usually I want to get together with you guys.
Why? Why are you doing this now? Why?
Howard the Duck is a gold standard in Dean's childhood movies, but a gold standard in tattooing. I mention here is the Golden Heart Tattoo shop in beautiful Norton, Ohio, close to here. Remember, I'm going next Friday.
Basically,
I'll show you some new ink on this arm here. We're going to keep adding to this arm here, and I'll show you on the show here. But next Friday, going to see Scott, and I called him at 234-706-2982. You can find them on Facebook at Golden Heart Norton, Norton, and their website, goldenhearttattoos.com. So if you're in the Northeast Ohio area, go check out the gold standard of tattoo shops in the
standard
area.
Boom.
Yes. All right, a couple more honorable mentions for me real quick. You mentioned Ben-Hur, and it struck me. It should have been on my list. I'm going to add it right now. Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
That's a one for me. I would have to put that on my honorable mentions as well.
The Planet of the Apes, the original movie with Charlton Heston and the whole series. That was something, of course, that was in '68 or something like that. I saw it on TV, and it had a series for a second. But that was a very popular thing when I was a young kid, that whole series and all that. And even now, if you go back and watch those, Rod Serling he wrote the screenplay for the original Planet, who did the Twilight Zone and all that stuff. That movie, it definitely speaks, it's very powerful even now. It speaks to, racism and everything else. And those first few are pretty. If you look at like the ending, go up and down. But go ahead.
The ending with like
the Statue of Liberty.
And you look at it from the idea of like who wrote it. It is kind of a
mindfuck. Yeah.
No, well,
it's a Twilight Zone.
It's a Twilight Zone episode, like a 2 hour or whatever.
Right.
That whole Charlton Heston is fabulous. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Damn you.
Because like in the Twilight Zones, they covered and looked over race and religion. Like they didn't hold back on anything back then.
Did not. The Raiders of the Lost Ark, I mentioned earlier today. Yep. I saw that movie with my parents in the theater as a kid, and it was like, why? Just Harrison Ford, bigger than life. It was like, how could Harrison Ford do something besides Han Solo? Didn't make any sense necessarily. But as soon as you saw him, it's like completely pulled it off.
Right.
He could equally pull off Indiana Jones and Han Solo. No question about it. It wasn't like Han Solo in a fucking leather jacket and a whip. No. It's Indiana Jones, happens to be Harrison Ford, who just kicked ass. Fantastic movie. Was that?
You with me? We'd like to see Brian in a leather jacket.
Oh, sure.
And a
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Nothing else.
I could take her lose the leather jacket, but the whip is necessary.
No. I want the leather jacket, no pants.
Okay.
Just leather
Winnie
jacket
the Pooh with a whip. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Shining. Again, another movie on cable as a kid. It was just horror movie classic that definitely helped define my. I prefer horror movies that have more of that creepy type factor.
Sure.
Yeah, less than like
the
slasher
stuff is funny and fun and this and that and the other, and it's fine. But that type of movie was just frightening. You know? Blues Brothers, That is my version of the Wayne's World, I guess. It was a Saturday Night Live skit, if you will, that made its way to the big screen. My parents took me right down the street here at the West Theater, right down from here. That's where I saw the Blues Brothers for the first time with my parents back in 1980. Great memory for that because it was a rated R movie with my parents.
Right.
Fantastic. And the Pink Panther strikes again.
Sure.
Peter Sellers and his created my love of all the Pink Panther movies as a kid. Still enjoy those to this day. I know we talked about physical comedy in the prior podcast, stuff like that. Peter Sellers is one of the best of all time, hands down. Him as Inspector Clouseau, genius.
Perfect.
Many more we could talk about, I'm sure.
Yep.
But
we missed a lot.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it's limited of like numbers and time and the whole deal, but I think all of us had good lists.
Yeah, but it's interesting because there's all the movies we talked about here. We could definitely see how that the humor that we like, the horror that we like, sci-fi, the action, those movies still resonate with us to this day. Yeah, absolutely. So, want to hear from you out there as well. So, if there's any movies out there that defined your childhood and why, we'd love to hear from you.
What are you shaped like?
Yeah.
I'm round.
Yeah. Maybe you're shaped like a fucking cucumber. I don't know.
Yeah, a hexagon.
Well, don't get him excited. Relax.
Maybe an eggplant.
Oh, whoa. All right, see what you did.
Absolutely.
See what you did.
Say I'm already there.
Maybe a nice couple melons, maybe, or something. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah.
He's like, nah, yuck. And those melons.
Not unless they're below the waist. No thanks.
They're so big.
Well, we know we're making plenty of impacts to our listeners and viewers out
As
there.
always.
Right, we're going to be added to some list someday. What podcast shaped you as a young person?
And I'm hoping that when that category of like what podcast you masturbated to.
When I first heard Dean say titty meat, it was credited with giving me the tingle for the very first time.
We do have now. This is not a joke.
Oh, my butthole tingled.
According to our metrics, there is like a certain percentage of 5 or so percent are in 18 to young 20 range that listen to us.
Really?
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't seem accurate.
So we're shaping lives, impacting
and hopefully penises.
Young people.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, we want a face like that, wanting to shape penises of 18 to 25 year olds. That's not a fucking legal battle waiting to happen.
Maybe vaginas too. We sculpt the hood.
Now Dean can't go to parks and be,
No, that was before I shaved. That had nothing to do with the shaving.
I like a hipster that looks like he's from 1920. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really gets me going.
And then an old guy who was born in 1920.
Well, on that note, Nick,
yep,
will you take us out?
Absolutely.
Episode 141.
141. That's right. Well, it has been 141 fantastical episodes of Convincing Idiots.
That's right.
We thank you if you are listening to this point. We know we have taken up much of your time, but let's face it, what other way would you rather spend your time than with the three of us? So, if you would like to
spend already in your hand.
Even more time with us, you can find us on all of our social media accounts. You can conveniently find links to all of them on our link tree. So Google Convincing Idiots, LINKTREE, and you can go and subscribe, rate, review, and follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. We are also available there and on our website, convincingidiots.wordpress.com, where you can find merch and so much more. So, for another episode of Convincing Idiots, I am your Millennial Nick.
Zennial Dean.
Thanks, Brian.
Have we shaped you or convinced you to shape another this week on Convincing Idiots? My shoulders. We could do one more.
I'll try.